So QUI and QUE are the two main relative pronouns. These are the ones that you find and that you hear a lot in everyday French. What is a relative pronoun? Well, we use it to basically link two sentences together or two ideas together. So the relative pronoun will introduce a clause that explain or describe a previously mentioned noun. Now, the noun that is replaced by the relative pronoun is called the antécédent, and I'm going to explain to you what it is. And finally, so I've just said that before, but you need to understand that the relative pronoun are used to link two sentences together, but the idea is together. So it's not exactly like a relative pronoun would be like a bridge or a joint joining two things. It will allow to basically combine them. You need to think of the relative pronoun as a way to combine, to interwove things. So we said, what is an antécédent? So if you look at that grammatical definition, that sounds a bit complex. It's a word, a phrase, or a clause, usually a substantive that is replaced by a pronoun or the substitute later or occasionally earlier in the same or in another usually subsequent sentence. Okay, so that's actually fairly complex, really. Let's look at it through an example. So in that sentence, Jen lost a glove and she can't find it. Well, Jane is the antécédent of she, and glove is the antécédent of it. I think that makes much more sense like this. You have the good understanding now what an antécédent is. So QUI or QUE. So we've got two, the main simple ones. So QUI, we're going to talk first about QUI. It is used in the subordinate clause as the subject. So in English, you would translate it sometime by who or which or that. So let's look at some examples. So here we've got two sentences in French. C'est mon chien dort sur le canapé. So that's two different sentences, and we are going to use a relative pronoun to link these two sentences. We are going to use QUI. In English, these two sentences translate into it is my dog sleeps on the couch. With QUI, that's what I can do. C'est mon chien qui dort sur le canapé. So as you can see here, we only have one sentence. We've got that word QUI. And QUI, if you look at what we had at the start, these two sentences, and what we've got now, QUI replaces mon chien. D'accord? So QUI actually, in effect, works as the subject in qui dort sur le canapé. Qui could be le chien dort sur le canapé. D'accord? So in English, you would say, it's my dog who sleeps on the couch. So you can see that. Now, in this example, again, two sentences to start with. L'assiette est sur la table, l'assiette est blanche. Okay, so the plate is on the table, the plate is white. If I want to link these two sentences with QUI, you can guess that this is l'assiette that's going to be replaced by QUI, et we're going to say l'assiette qui est sur la table est blanche. You can see that in qui est sur la table, QUI replaces l'assiette. I'm going to get back to this a bit later, but you can see here clearly how when we use a relative pronoun, we don't just link, or if you like, add the two sentences next to each other. We really combine them. You can see here that the clause is actually in the middle. Qui est sur la table is actually inserted in the main clause. So in English, you would translate it into the plate which is on the table is white. Alors, the relative clause is often inserted into the main clause, and I've just explained this. The relative pronoun, as I've explained at the start and again now, it's not simply making a junction between sentences like a bridge between two banks of a river. It's more complex than that. It's a combination, and really with the relative pronoun, the sentences are interwoven. D'accord? such as this example, la voiture qui est dans la vitrine est chère. Okay? Qui est dans la vitrine is actually the relative clause inserted in the main clause, right? The car that is in the window is expensive. Now, let's look at que. Alors, que has a different role in the sentence, and that's the main difference between qui and que. Qui, you remember, was used as the subject in the clause. Now, que functions as the direct object of the subordinate clause. And in English, it can be translated into whom or which or that. So we're going to look at some examples again. Je lis un livre, le livre est en français, so I'm reading a book, and the book is in French. Now, if I combine these two sentences with que, le livre que je lis est en français. Now, you can see here that in the clause, que is followed by je. So, que je lis est en français. We actually have a subject. What we don't have in that clause is le livre. Que replaces le livre. Le livre que je lis est en français. The book which I am reading is in French. La femme est grande, nous voyons la femme. Okay, so the woman is tall, we see the woman. La femme que nous voyons est grande. Again, you can see that que is followed by nous before the verb. So we have que followed by the subject in the clause. So que cannot be anything else but the direct object. The woman whom we see is tall. Alors que can become QU apostrophe in front of a vowel or an H. Qui never changes, but que does. You know, just like le, te, me, and so on. That can become, the E can turn into an apostrophe in front of a vowel. So, le manteau qu'il porte est beau. That's an example of a que that becomes a QU apostrophe. Now I've got two tips for you. And the first one is, as you know, que is the object. So usually que is followed by the subject of, whereas qui is usually directly followed by the verb. So that's a giveaway. If you use que should be followed by the subject of the verb. If you use qui, you should have the verb directly next to qui. That's a small tip. And the last one, really, because it is not simple. It is extremely useful, and it's important that you can do this, but you're not going to be able to do it just by watching a video. So the best way to become good at it is drilling exercises, and more drilling exercises, and more drilling exercises, and do a lot of these. That's the best way to learn how to use that. But I've just explained to you the basics of the rule. And this is not simple. So what I would do if I were you as well, I would check different grammar books. Although they explain the same rules, they sometimes explain it slightly differently. And I think it helps to compare, or to at least read 2 or 3, because this will probably help you have a better understanding.